Howdy, who all my stock market gamblers? Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. What do we got going on? Well, stock market, right? We got the Dow is already topped out, starting to come down. The Russell, the IWM, topped out, already starting to come down. But we got the S&P. The S&P, for some reason, they want to push this up higher still. I think we're going to get another run in the S&P, maybe even get it to a new high. Now, the Russell and the Dow, they'll come back up, but they won't make a new high. But the S&P might actually get to a new high before it starts its own bear market. Now, what about the NASDAQ? A lot of people are in the NASDAQ. They talk about it, right? NASDAQ depends on two things right now. Two things, AI, which is NVIDIA, right? If NVIDIA can make a new high, they'll probably push the NASDAQ up to a new high. The other thing it depends on now, which is kind of funny, it depends on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can get to a new high, the NASDAQ will make a new high. Now, why does the NASDAQ depend on Bitcoin? Well, MicroStrategies. MicroStrategies is now part of the NASDAQ 100, right? So if MicroStrategies can go up, that can help the NASDAQ go up. And if MicroStrategies goes up, it can only go up if Bitcoin goes up. Remember, MicroStrategies is a leverage play on Bitcoin, right? They borrow a lot of money to buy a lot of Bitcoin. It's kind of funny. Now, MicroStrategies can help the NASDAQ go higher, but I think when it all turns to a bear market, MicroStrategies is going to hurt the NASDAQ. It's going to hurt the NASDAQ really bad. You see, what they are is levered Bitcoin, right? So if Bitcoin starts to come down, and it's going to come down about 80%. It's done it 5 times already in its life. 5 times in the last 12 years came down 80%. It's going to come down 80% again. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think Bitcoin can make a new high. I think if it can hold above 100,000, get above it and hold there, they can push it up to a new high, maybe 110, 120,000 before it comes down. But now let's think about this. What if it lost 80% of its value from, let's say, 120,000? Okay, so it comes down, loses 80% of its value, and all of a sudden it's trading around 20, 25,000, right? Well, MicroStrategies, their cost basis is over 60,000, about $63,000. If Bitcoin comes back down to 25,000, I think MicroStrategies is going to go under. I think it's going to go out of business. Now, right now, Michael Saylor, he looks like a genius, right? I mean, he had this failing software company. He had nothing to lose. He couldn't make payroll, really. His company was going under. So what he decided to do was put everything into Bitcoin, right? And the software company still loses money, but he doesn't care. He's making so much on Bitcoin, right? I mean, he's bought almost 500,000 Bitcoins, right? About, I don't know, what is that, $50 billion, right? Okay, so now he's got all that money, but it's leveraged, right? It made him a billionaire. He thinks he's going to become the richest man in the world. As long as Bitcoin can get to 1 million, 20 million, 30 million, he will become the richest man in the world. For doing what? For buying Bitcoin. And maybe that's a possibility, but I think he has no end game, right? What is his end game? His end game is just to keep buying Bitcoin. He claims it can never go down. It can't go down. I know it's gone down 80% 5 times already, and it's going to be a 6th time, I'm telling you. And so when it goes down 80%, I think MicroStrategies is just going to go away. It's going to hurt the NASDAQ with it. So the next bear market, it's going to be brutal. Now, I don't know if I think we're in a bear market in the Dow. I think we're in one in the Russell. I think it's already started. You see, you never know for sure if you're in a bear market until it reaches down to 20%, because that's the definition of a bear market. You could be in a bear market right now and not know it, but if it drops like 20, 30%, you go, oh yeah, we were in a bear market. It started back in November for the Russell 2000, started in December for the Dow, probably going to start in January for the S&P. But the NASDAQ, it's the wild card. It can go up still, it can go make a new high, but I think eventually, once the bear market starts, it's going to be the biggest bear market we've ever seen. Why? Because we're in the biggest bubble we've ever seen, right? We never flushed out the bubble from 2008. 2008 bubble is still going, blowing the bubble up bigger. And how have they done this? They've done this with the printing of money, and they're going to continue to print money. Now, the Donald says, they're going to get the Doge boys in there and cut all that expenditures, so we're not going to have to print money. Now, I hope that all works out, but I'm just not that optimistic about it. Now, what I want to find that might be shocking to to a lot of you is that the government's been lying to us. I mean, I know you can't believe that, but yeah, the government's been lying to us. Look, let me ask you a question. How many people believe that inflation is running at 3%? Is your inflation running at 3%? The stuff that you buy when you go to the grocery store, is it up about 3%? I don't think so. I think it's up a lot more than that. I'm telling you, has your utility bills, has your rent gone up? Has anything that you spend money on gone up? Yeah, it's gone up about, I'd say it's closer to 10%, but they're calling it 3%. See, the government's lying to us, right? They say the GDP, the gross domestic product, is growing at 3% a year. They say we're in this great economy. I say you take away the money printing, which is about $3 to $4 trillion a year. We print money that we don't have. I know that's shocking also. A lot of this stuff, very shocking to a lot of people, but this is just how it works. You know, you print $3 or $4 trillion a year that you don't have. And then when the GDP is at 3%, you go, look at the great economy. You take away that deficit spending and you're down about 6 to 7% on the GDP each year, which really would put you in the depression, if not a great depression. See, the government lies to us. They tell us that unemployment's about 4%. They did a survey of people, you know, they just went door to door in different areas, and they found out in the survey it's really running about 10%. Very fascinating to me. The government tells us 4%. Now, maybe the Donald will come in and he'll just give a clean slate. He'll let us know the real numbers. He'll go back and revise all the Biden numbers, which are completely bogus, completely fake. The other alternative, the Donald could keep doing the completely fake and bogus numbers, but people have lost, well, they have no faith in their government. The government's lost all credibility. When I was younger, we used to believe the government, and they would report things relatively where they were, not just made up, pulled out of a hat sort of thing. And then they print a bunch of money and they tell you that everything's great, right? There's no country in the history of the world that has been able to print their way to prosperity. You cannot print your way to prosperity. It doesn't work. Sure, it can work for a short period of time, right? It's like kicking the can farther down the road. And the farther down the road it goes, I mean, you got more time. I hope we have some more time. I'm not completely prepared yet. But my point is that we're going into a bear market, maybe not right away. Maybe I'm a little off on the timing. Maybe the Dow hasn't peaked yet. I think it has. I think it's starting the bear market. I think the bear market's coming. We haven't had a bear market in 16 years? That's the longest bull market in the history of the world. Okay, so 16-year bull market, but eventually we're going to have a bear market. And when we do, it's going to be the mother of all bear markets. It could drop us 70, 80%. And now here's the thing. It's going to take us at least a decade to get back to the levels we're at here, to get back to these levels. It's going to take, well, look at the dot-com, for example, the dot-com boom, right? When the NASDAQ collapsed, it dropped 80%. How long did it take to get back and make a new high? 16 years. Now, a lot of you have time. A lot of you young whippersnappers out there, you got a lot of time. You get to be my age and you look at 16 years, you go, I'd be in my 80s. I don't have that much time to wait, so I want to miss this next bear market, and that's why I do not have a lot of investments in the stock market right now. I think the safer play is the gold market. Silver's relatively cheap. Actually, the most cheapest commodity on the planet would be silver. And they've outperformed. That people don't like talking about. They don't like to let you know that gold once again, 2024, outperformed the S&P. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's a secret. But it's been outperforming the stock market for 20 years. It's been outperforming the bond market for 24 years. See, people think bonds are safe, right? I mean, you put your money in there, you get 4 or 5% return on the bonds, but the gold price for the last 24 years has doubled the return on bonds. And it does it without any counterparty risk. There's no counterparty risk when you own the physical gold, physical silver. So those are always going to be, well, they're going to be a good investment, right? They've been a great investment this past year, up about 30% on gold, about the same on silver. I mean, that's outperformed the markets. It's going to continue to outperform the markets. See, I think think the markets are starting this bear market. And after this bear market's all said and done, I really think gold will be 1-to-1 with the Dow. Gold about 2,700, Dow about 42,000, right? Going to become 1-to-1. That's going to freak a lot of people out. A lot of people aren't prepared for that. But my thing is, for safety, I want to miss the bear markets. I don't have 16 years to wait for my money to come back. You see, right now there's a lot of insider selling, and people don't realize this. You see, the retail investor, he's never been more positive, right? He's very positive. I mean, the ratio between long versus short ETFs, short being to bet the market down, long being to bet it up, the ratio between these two never been greater. That's the retail investor, right? And the retail investor, they're very hopped up on this market. A lot of moon boys in there. A lot of people think this market, Dow Jones, could go to 100,000. Maybe it can. That'd be, more than a double. That'd be great for the moon boys. But I don't see it that way. If it does go to 100,000, I'd say gold's going to be right there with it. It's going to meet 1-to-1. Now, we could have the inflationary depression, but my guess is we're going to get a deflation first. Then they're going to print unlimited amounts of money into oblivion, trying to blow the air back into the bubble, because everything's going to just be deflating, but it'd be like pushing on a string at that point, right? They're not going to be able to get the air back into the bubble. But maybe we hyperinflate and the Dow can go up to 100,000 and gold's at 100,000 right there with it. That's supposedly a possibility. Maybe it is. But here's the thing, we print. Well, just in 2024, we printed over $2 trillion, right? Just last year. $2 trillion that we don't have. And this is supposedly in the great economy. Now, I understand when you're in a recession, in a depression, maybe you got to print some money to get the markets going. But why are you juicing the markets when it's such a great economy? Why do we do this deficit spending? Why? Because they want to make the rich people richer. They want their rich friends to become more rich. And they want the poor people, they want to hurt them. They don't tell you they want to hurt you. See, when they print money, it causes inflation. Now, inflation, all it is just stealing the money from the poor people and giving it to the rich people. That's all it's doing, right? Now, they say they want inflation between 2 or 3%. Now, why do I want them to steal 2 and 3% of my money? I don't. Do you want a thief to come in your house and tell you, hey, I'm only going to take 5% of your stuff. I'll leave the rest of here for you, and I'll come back next year and take another 5% of your stuff. Do you want that? I don't want that, right? That's theft. It's downright theft. And that's what inflation is. And that's what the printing of money is. But they're going to continue to print this money because we're going to get that deflationary pressure as the price of the stock market comes down. As we enter the bear market, you're going to see your houses come down. This deflationary pressure. But what are they going to offset that with? They're going to offset that with the printing of money. They want to keep their rich friends wealthy, right? And they want to keep the poor. Well, they just want to do away with the poor, to be perfectly honest with you. Look, here's the thing. The farther we go into debt, the more homeless people we get, right? There's a big homeless problem out there. Maybe not in your area because you live in such a nice area, but my area, homeless population has doubled in the last year. They say it's only up 20%. Once again, that's the government's numbers saying it's up 20%. Well, once again, we know that the government lies to us. And it is shocking, right? I mean, very shocking when they lie to us. But the homeless problem, the farther the country goes into debt, the bigger the homeless problem is. There's a direct correlation between this because it's the printing of money, which makes poor people poor. They lose their house. They become homeless, right? This has got to stop. Now, what we do is we send a lot of money overseas to help other countries go blow people up, fight wars, when we have a big problem right here that we don't help people here in our country. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. This is what's so sad with our government, right? All they want is to keep those asset prices high so their rich friends can stay rich. We got to help the homeless people. We got to get a level playing field. Yes, we need a reset, and there's going to be a reset, and that's why I advise you to get a little bit of real money, gold, silver. Silver's still cheap, right around $30 an ounce, right? You got $30, put 1 ounce of silver away a week. I'm promise you it's going to come in real handy when the reset comes, because they're going to have to reset it against something. You see, this bubble here, this bubble is interesting because it is 100% caused by the Federal Reserve printing money. They'll even admit it, right? When the bubble started popping in 2008, they said we're going to print money to blow the bubble back up. And they did. They blew it bigger and bigger and bigger. You see, back in the roaring 20s, right before the 1930 Great Depression, right? Okay, now that bubble was created by the economy, right? The dot-com bubble, that was created by the economy. But the bubble we got right now is just created by the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve has to go away when we do the reset. Federal Reserve created this bubble by printing unlimited money. And they're going to continue to do it. There's nothing stopping them. They are not even audited. They can do whatever they want. They can go in the stock market and buy stocks. They got a trading desk. They can buy all the bonds they want. They're probably going to start buying bonds really soon because they have a problem. You see, the lowering of interest rates, they cut the interest rates, but now the bonds, they've cut them by 100 basis points, but the bonds are up over 100 basis points. Interest rates are going higher. They're going to have to come in and buy the bonds, right, which expands their balance sheet. This is getting really scary. I mean, you can't see it. I mean, if you got the education of a sixth grader, I could probably teach you this stuff, but you're on the channel, so I'm preaching to the choir. So everybody, if you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. They really don't like my channel. The more I talk, the more people I lose. That's amazing to me, but that's what YouTube does, right? So give me the thumbs up, share this with somebody, and get out there, everybody. Have a great day. We'll talk again real soon. Bye-bye now.